Texas is going to the place where SEC teams go to die. They're going to the doors. They're going to Nashville. Vanderbilt coming off of maybe not a pretty win against Ball State. That was maybe swept under the rug when people decided to bump them up in the polls this week. But yeah, needless to say, Vanderbilt's coming off many a straight wins. Texas is coming off a bad performance. Twitter's blowing up about Quinn Ewers. I don't know if you saw that, CD, but bunch of we're not even going to comment on it because we don't know. We don't know anything. It's Monday, so we don't know anything. We could post this tomorrow and things totally change. And Arch Manning is playing quarterback this weekend, but
I'm gonna take this as the Instagram post or Instagram post may or may not have been posted. Like I'm gonna take it as Quinn Ewers as quarterback going forward for Texas until proven otherwise.
Yeah, and honestly, in this game, it doesn't make a huge difference. It does make a difference in terms of straight up winning the football game, but in terms of like covering a big spread, I struggle here because Vanderbilt, their offense, they have not played a lot of great defense. Kentucky, I think, is a good defense, although I'm starting to question a little bit more with their performance, against Florida, right? And maybe Georgia, maybe Carson Beck has some games where he's just not good, right? Maybe that Kentucky team, as good as I thought their defense was going to be, maybe it's not that good. Who knows? So I'm starting, and also Vanderbilt's offense didn't look amazing. Diego Pavia just looked like a gamer, as always. So I struggle with the spread. I definitely think Texas is going to win this football game. They're not on my dirty dogs. I think this is where, Vanderbilt probably dies. The question is, is 18.5 points too much, CD? Is it?
I don't know. Part of me thinks, and listen, I really think, I don't see this as like we're giving up for Texas. First of all, they have everything they want to still accomplish, including the SEC, right, playoffs, and obviously the national championship still ahead of them. I still think they're talented enough and good enough to do and accomplish all of those goals. I also trust their culture. It sounds like in their coaching staff and their program to get them ready, pick them up off the mat after a very disappointing loss last week, and be ready to go on the road. And I think you're almost kind of lucky that Vanderbilt's ranked and that Vanderbilt beat Alabama earlier because this could be a game where you could sleepwalk. But I think everyone knows right now the cat's out of the bag. Like you can't just walk into Vanderbilt and play your C game and guarantee a win. Now you could potentially do that and win, and you might be very close, whatever. I do think Texas is better than Alabama. I do think they're more equipped to beat a team like Vanderbilt. I was very impressed with their defense last week, even though I thought if Georgia were to win, it would be Carson Beck doing it. It turned out Georgia's defense was awesome against Texas. Vanderbilt's defense is not quite the same. Diego Pavia and that team is going to have to scheme up a lot to move the football in Texas. I don't see it happening. I think there's absolutely a path for Vanderbilt to make this football game, to cover and potentially have a chance to win the football game in the fourth quarter. I think more times out of not, Texas picks themselves off the map and they play good football, sound, clean football, and they get a win and they cover 18.5.
So you're having Texas cover.
Texas cover.
All right, I'll fade you there. I guess I'll take Texas to win. I'll take Vanderbilt to cover. Like the backdoor covers in play, right? 18.5 is a big one. I also think how good, are like Texas's receivers really at getting separation. And this isn't the worst secondary that Texas has played against this year at all. It's not gonna be the same level. I could see this, being a 38-21 type of game, right? Where Texas kind of lets it bleed, maybe leans on some of those backs like Wisner. I'm gonna take Vanderbilt plus 18.5, but Texas to win straight up in Nashville. So I see why you're going that direction though. I don't blame you at all. I think that's all good points you make. I think Vanderbilt, again, Alabama, it's like I still don't even know how good they are. The SEC is pretty messed up right now. The SEC is pretty messed up, so it's hard for me to pick any game in the SEC with immense confidence.
I'm with you there too. I do think part of Georgia's success was that defensive line and how they were able to get pressure in Quinn Ewers very, very easy. You talked about Quinn Ewers struggling against pressure, right? I do wonder if Vanderbilt and Clark Lee can scheme up similar pressure looks that Texas got. And I think Texas, I don't know how many defensive lines they'll play where you don't feel good about their tackles and their interior guys just going one-on-one against a guy and getting beat, right? Like Vanderbilt, to me, I don't know if they have the guys along the line of scrimmage to get after, Quinn Ewers like Georgia did. And yes, maybe Texas wide receivers aren't quite as elite as we potentially thought they were in the portal. But I do wonder if they have a little bit more time to get separation, right? They could get immediate separation against Georgia because they didn't have a chance to. But I do wonder if they give him Quinn Ewers a little bit of time. He is a very good quarterback when he does have time. And that's my only concern here for Vanderbilt. Like you said, the backdoor cover absolutely in play. Am I selfishly rooting for Vanderbilt? Potentially. I think a lot of the country is just because they're kind of turned into America's team here. And I think I will say a lot of teams get flack for winning ugly. They were tied going into that fourth quarter against Ball State last week, and I think nobody even cared.
No one knew. No one was watching that game. Like they didn't play well. And Ball State, when I say bottom of the barrel, like we're talking the three worst teams in the country are probably Kent State, Akron, and Ball State. Is that crazy to say? Kennesaw State. So they're one of the four worst teams in the entire country.
Yeah, no, that's not crazy at all. And yeah, a lot. They did obviously, I think, outplay them a little bit more than that score showed for sure. And they kind of got better as the game went on. But I don't know. It's just funny to see because we took Vanderbilt's over at 2.5, right? Pretty juiced, very heavily juiced. But we thought it was free because they were playing Alcorn, they were playing Georgia State, and Ball State. Three teams we thought were pretty bad.
Double-digit favorites.
And we're like, okay, they can get those wins, and they can just win 3 games.
And they lose to Georgia State.
And we thought it was over. Now, actually, they beat Virginia Tech, so it didn't actually matter.
Yeah.
And whatever. And then they covered it after beating Bama, which is crazy. But it's interesting to see how, you didn't look great against Georgia State. You lost. You didn't look great against Ball State, and you barely won. And then, yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I do wonder if a little bit inflated, and how good does that Bama win really, really look? Now, obviously, it's still very impressive.
It's wild.
It's hard to.
Can't believe we're taking away that Bama win. We're taking it away from Vanderbilt. We're taking it away. It was a bad win.
We won't.
No, just kidding. Vanderbilt's awesome. Can't wait for them to win. Just kidding. I don't think they'll win, but that'd be awesome. Literally, I'd be so happy coming back here and talking about Vanderbilt because then you have to talk about. Wait, yeah, Vanderbilt's kind of in the play for the SEC championship mix. I mean, not really, but let me tell you, if you beat Texas, Alabama, and Kentucky in the ways that you did, sure you lost it, and you lost Missouri in overtime. I don't even want to think about it. That'd be too crazy.
I do want to ask this too. Now, Vanderbilt historically has not been in a very tough environment to play in terms of compared to the rest of the SEC, right? That's no bold statement. That's just kind of what it is. I do wonder how rowdy it's going to be after a couple weeks ago, after the win against Kentucky, right? I do wonder if they're going to be able to put together a pretty substantial crowd and kind of be
rowdy
over there in Nashville.
They will. I think the school people will learn that I think the engineering majors there, I think, figured out that they have a football team, and that's pretty cool. So